Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, one of the fastest growing real estate investing podcasts in the world. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors? Find out what got them to where they are now. Get insight into their daily habits and take these insights to inspire your own growth. Each episode, Jonathan Greene shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor and the founder of Streamline, a data-driven, investor-friendly, independent real estate brokerage located in Madison, New Jersey. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, this is the free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Thanks for showing up for another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. You're about to get a New York show, me and Steve Afra talking Brooklyn and growing up there, and a lot about real estate investing because Steve is helping real estate investors win one deal at a time with his company, Nvestor Funding. I can't wait for you to hear this show right now. This is episode 307 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Steve Afra. Steve is a nationally recognized real estate finance expert, private lender, and investor with over 30 years of experience and more than $10 billion in funded and traded loans. He's the co-founder and managing partner of Nvestor Funding, which we're going to talk a lot about. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. And I think that I read that you did a flip when you were 16. Am I right about that?
I started in real estate actually at 14. So my father was, we used to call flippers back in the day when I was growing up, a long time ago. We used to call them speculators.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
My dad was an investor. Same thing. I was being pushed through the windows of homes at 2 just so I could open the door on the other side. So
it's crazy. Where did you grow up?
New York.
Okay, so like me. So upstate or downstate?
Westchester, where my dad and I was in Brooklyn.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So same. I lived in Long Island. I grew up in Long Island.
We went out to Long Island summer. Same thing. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So back when I was growing up in the 80s, they weren't called flippers; they were called speculators. So they used to speculate on homes. So my father was actually one of the largest flippers in Queens at the time.
Oh, wow.
And they were buying blocks of homes from HUD for like $5,000. But these were burnout homes.
Yeah.
Like they were burnouts. You would get a whole block for 5 Gs. No one would go there. The crime was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And these guys would buy the homes, rehab them, and sell them. And back then, they were one of the very few people that were using FHA loans in the whole country. And so they were getting these guys FHA loans and basically selling it, to the people in the communities. So I started actually really, really, really young, helping my father with those projects. So, South Bronx, South Jamaica, which was made Compton look like Beverly Hills.
It's funny though, because
some parts of Brooklyn.
That's fine. When you're newer people who are younger hear Brooklyn, I did grow up in Brooklyn Heights. It was nice when I was growing up, but it's not what they think it was. Like everyone thinks it was. Like I never rode a bike because you couldn't have a bike because it was gone in 5 seconds. Like that. Man. That was just the way it was, and that was Brooklyn Heights. Now we're talking about like Bensonhurst and places which have obviously developed Bushwick, these things. But yeah, when I was younger, there was a lot of like no-go zones.
Bushwick? Are you kidding me? Bensonhurst, Bushwick, Brownsville, right?
Yeah.
Brownsville's still bad. I don't think they're ever going to change Brownsville. East New York, these are now they call it downtown Brooklyn. Get the hell out of here! It wasn't downtown Brooklyn. Dumbo. Yeah, real Dumbo.
There was no Dumbo. It was basically the edge of Brooklyn Heights was the end of the world to me, and then you crossed over to downtown Brooklyn, like past there, and it was a whole different story. So
how about Red Hook?
Yeah,
Rental.
Gowanus was just the canal.
You know why.
For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, look on the map and do some Brooklyn research, and it will make sense. But that's interesting. So where your dad was buying these HUD homes then, and just buying as many as possible, fixing them all up, and then being able to trade them to an FHA loan, which is a great option for both sides because they're fixed up, so they're going to pass FHA back then. And gives buyers an option for lower money down, even back then, which was probably still way higher percentage.
3% down.
Oh, still even then?
It was less, actually. Now it's 3.5%.
Yeah, wow.
So it was 3% down, anywhere from 3 to 5%, but it was 3% down. It was 100% gifted. I mean, they were playing games, obviously.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into the games, but there's a lot of games being played back then to sell these properties and sell these homes.
Yeah.
So that's actually how I got into the business. But so from there, because there was one of the number one FHA lenders that they used to basically refer all the loans to.
Yeah.
I ended up working for that FHA lender as a summer job because my mom's best friend was the VP of that company. And that's how I got into lending. I got into lending as a summer job, which I was making minimum wage, and it was horrible. I worked in the basement filled with asbestos.
Yeah. Classic old school mailroom. You get what you get, right?
Old school mailroom.
Yeah.
And, I worked for a valet parking company at a very early age as well, which ran everything lucrative back then. I mean, you're from Brooklyn, so you know.
Yeah.
Everything back then was ran by the mob.
Yeah.
So I was making big money, but the restaurant I worked for basically closed down for the summer for 1 month. Because it was Italian and they used to go back to Italy.
Go home,
places. They used to go home. So that 1 month, my mom was like, you got to work. And that's where I took that summer job, and the rest is history. I got the lending bug.
Yeah. Is there something that you liked more about the lending side than being on site? Because it's like when you're a kid, you don't really want to be dragged to the properties. It's almost like that asbestos mailroom's better. At least you're on your own.
So I liked, you know what it is? It's like what I realized was there's only a certain amount of homes that my father could potentially rehab, right? And usually that was like 3 or 4 at a time. But you could lend on hundreds of properties at one time.
Yeah.
So that's what attracted me more to the lending, because here I am, and we used to have this was the largest FHA lender back then in the whole country, privately owned. We were doing more FHA loans than Citibank back then. It was crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would just walk by the closing rooms and I would see all these speculators, all these flippers selling their homes and whatever it was. And I'm like, all right, this guy's selling 2 homes today. That guy's selling 1 home. My dad's selling 2 homes, this and that. But here's the mortgage company,
is there at all the ones?
25 closings today, right? And they're going to have another 25, 30 tomorrow and another one. So that's what really just doing the numbers and cents, and they were the ones that were making most of the money that day.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty astute observation, even for somebody, at that age, just to see like, hey, the volume's one person is always at the closing table. I mean, that's smart. I think people probably wouldn't even think of that now, but it makes sense. The volume's there. So that means the scale's there, and the busyness. If you like to work and get compensated, like it's available.
And the smartest one at the table, who was the lawyer, because, we have lawyers in New York. It's an attorney state. They were the ones that making the least amount of money at the table.
Yeah.
They were making $450 back then for a closing, $500 if they were really good.
Yeah.
And, they were the smartest and making the least amount of money at the table. So although I did end up going to law school, I knew there was no way I was going to go be a closing attorney. That was not happening.
Yeah,
that wasn't in my stars. That was not happening. I wasn't going to be the smartest dummy at the table.
Yeah. Did you ever practice law?
6 months, just to satisfy my dad. And then I got right back into lending.
Yeah. Interesting. So I'm a lawyer too. I practiced for 10 years
I'm sorry
as
about
a prosecutor and criminal defense attorney. But it's funny because everything that I learned in law school, even though I actually had a great time in law school. I didn't enjoy the classes. I was in Fort Lauderdale. It was great. But
you had a really good time.
Yeah. So much of what I learned, though, is still applicable to what I do every day in real estate. And it's just I think 50% of my friends who I went to law school with aren't lawyers. They're using their law degree in a different way. And I think it's still great education.
It's the best degree you could get, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's very well-rounded too, because you learn business. I remember taking property and being like, wow, I know a lot of this from growing up, but this is really, unique what we're going down and learning how to win the properties, which is important, especially if you're doing foreclosures and things like that. The
best. To me, especially if you're getting into real estate, it is such a valuable tool to have is to be an attorney. Nothing better than that. Really.
Yeah. You can answer all the questions that nobody else wants to answer.
Pretty much. Yeah. I just try, I don't tell anyone that I'm an attorney. Just, you know how it is. As soon as you tell them, they're going to ask you 1,000 legal questions.
Right. And then you have to say, I can tell you this, but it's not legal advice.
It's not legal, and you have to go into the whole thing. So the older I get, the least number of people know I'm an attorney. My kids just found out. They're like, Dad, you're an attorney? I'm like, shh.
Don't tell anybody.
Keep that secret. My little one. He's missing the latch between his brain and his mouth. He just tells everybody everything. So.
Well, let's go into lending, because I think it's a business that I think gets a bad rap. I don't think people understand how hard it is, but especially with what you're doing at Nvestor, is this mostly fix and flips? It's a lot of different things, though, right?
It is. It's fix and flip. Believe it or not, most of our business right now is ground up construction, because that's the business.
That kind of makes sense. That's smarter,
but also, you have companies like Chiavi that kind of dominate the landscape at this point, right? Yeah. So they've really commoditized like that business where they can just do it in mass, where no one else could really compete with them. Yeah. And nor do you want to. And they have the technology behind it to be able to do it. So a company like Chiavi is more like a tech business. Than it is.
For sure.
And that's how it's going to get sold at some point, right? Or go public. They're going to go public as a tech company, and they do what they do. And kind of, if you're younger and you want to go get a loan, it's perfect because it's not personalized. You're not dealing with anyone. The way I grew up, if I'm borrowing money, there better be somebody on the other fucking side of picking up the phone. I'm still like that, right? My wife thinks I'm nuts. Every time I go borrow money, I have to go, if it's from the bank, I have to go speak to the loan officer. I have to speak to the vice president. I need to know. I'm asking them a million questions. They think I'm nuts, but that's just how I am.
Yeah. But it's still safer. I mean, there's so many ways that technology makes things easier. But when I look at my history, like 50 years of walking properties and just real estate, I still think the way that we did it and the way that you're still doing it, probably the same way that I'm still doing it, I still think it's a smarter way. I feel like I have much less risk because of the way that you and I are still doing business like that. Do you agree?
100%. Yeah. 100%. But you know what? The new generation isn't like that. Jonathan, they're just not. They'd rather not talk to someone. Me, I need to talk to someone. I have to talk to someone. I don't care what it is. I need personal service. And so that's the type of business we do. We just give personal service. We're picking up the phone. We're analyzing the deal. And the places like Chiavi, they just don't. And some people like that. They want to just talk to no one, upload their docs, and pay a minimal fee, and I guess it was about to happen, and even in my business, which it did. And Chiavi, all the respect to those guys, they figured out how to do it.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to have many more catastrophes, but because they have scale, it just basically doesn't matter in the model. Yes. Things are going to go wrong, closings are going to happen, people will get pissed off, and they're not going to care because they have so many. If you're doing it so close and tight knit, still doing the handshake, you're going to have really much like less risk, like we were saying, even in who you're lending to, because you eyeball them and
And like you said, it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the defaults are there, but they're getting ahead of the defaults because they're just exponentially doing more business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it'll be, no matter what we do. The funny thing is, obviously I do about anywhere between $45 to $50 million worth of loans a month, right? Obviously, I don't have that type of money to be balance sheet that. We have partners like PIMCO, Fortress, and places like that where we trade these loans. Obviously, I'm on the hook for them.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, sometimes we'll have a conversation with them and loans go bad. And I tell them, that's part of the business. It doesn't matter how well I can underwrite the deal. If you want me to have a 0% default ratio, then I could write 0 loans.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to get it. But defaults are going to happen, and they're going to happen for many reasons. It has nothing, a lot of people think that defaults usually has to do with fraud. It's a very minimal amount of the defaults that we get are straight up fraud. Does that happen? Yeah, but that's not the majority of why people default. It's things that happen outside of their business. Usually, is it death in the family, a loss of a job,
divorce,
illness is huge. We had this guy, one of our top guys, and we were out with him a good $10-12 million worth of loans. And he just shit went south. And then when we got in contact with him, his young son had gotten sick. And those are the things that we deal with. And then, we have to call Fortress or we have to call PIMCO and say, hey, this is what's going on with this guy. We don't feel comfortable foreclosing on him because this is exactly what's happening. How do you guys want to deal with this? And then for the most part, our counterparts are, no one wants to foreclose. I think that the biggest misconception that a lot of people have with private money or hard money is that it's a loan to own business. Absolutely not. We're not.
I've said the same thing. They think like, oh, great, you get the property back. It's like, no, that's the biggest pain in the ass of everyone's life. Yeah.
What if I handed you a project halfway done? You're going to kill yourself. You're like, I don't even know where to start with this thing.
The whole goal of lending is steady payments every month.
100%.
Not to take the thing back and then do the whole thing again.
No, exactly. And so this is I think the biggest misconception that comes with in my business is that we are predatory lenders and we're looking to own that property at the end. Absolutely not. Like you said, the last thing I want to do. So there are more workouts that we do.
That's the business.
Than anything else.
To avoid doing what those people think is the goal.
To avoid it. And they don't see it behind the scenes, right? And, the comments I get, like, on Instagram, thank God I grew up with real bullies. I tell people, like, these guys, I had to deal with real bullies. You're sitting there, keyboard warrior. You're not affecting my life.
Bobby 1, 2, 3. I'm good. I don't need to take my life advice from them.
Exactly. And I'm a scumbag and a predator because they don't know.
They say they do the same to landlords, though, right? Like everyone out there, if you just look at the general tenor about like landlords, it's like, oh, they're all slumlords. It's like, no, most landlords are just like regular people who always give the tenant. My dad literally would be 6 months. All the tenants will be 6 months behind. He's like, I like them all. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
The thing is, and it's the same thing on the lending side with me, where it's, hey, what happened? What could we do to get this freaking thing to the finish line so that you're okay and we're okay? Let's just figure that out.
Yeah.
And so it's not really that cut and dry. It's not, just again. So that's where the defaults really happen is life events.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And even if it's a business event, right? Again, it doesn't come down to outright fraud. It comes out to, well, the guy over leveraged himself. Right? And, and then you have to answer and say, well, dude, what did you do? And those are the times where you just tell them, just be honest with me. Let's figure this out together. And then they'll come out and they'll say, I over leveraged myself. And then you have to figure out, like, then you'll talk them into, look, I'm not looking to hurt you. Take on a partner.
Yeah, right. But that's the way to figure something out. That's old
Yeah.
school also. I mean, I'm sure the default rate for you is going to be way less than for one of these conglomerates because they're just turn and burn. So even if
100%.
they're 20%, they really don't care. It makes no difference. The
No.
volume's so high, it's irrelevant. But the 5%, and still you're going to try to work those all out because that's just going to be better business.
It's all, so my business is all about workouts. That's what it comes down to. And then, having a conversation with the guys on the other side that we're partners with that are, booking the loans and buying the loans from us, right? Because again, any losses that they take, it comes on my shoulders. And just to tell them, don't be so hasty to pull the trigger on the fucking foreclosure. Like, that's not,
you don't want to do it. I mean,
of course, they don't want to do it. And again, to having that conversation to say, I'm the one that's taking the losses, right? At the end of the day, I'm indemnifying you for whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
You hold your horses. Let us work through the situation that it is. So, being an attorney kind of helps out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all negotiation. I mean, life is just a big negotiation. I think maybe to help the listeners, so when you're looking at a borrower, a new borrower, whatever they're coming in for, outside of the financial capability, what are the things that you look for when you're talking to someone? Because I think people want to set themselves up well, but like you said, a lot of people, they're not as used to just being personable and explaining and telling the truth and being upfront about where they are or why they got where they were. And I think that goes much further, especially when you're dealing one-to-one. If not, you can go to the conglomerate. You're going to get a worse rate, and they're not going to care when you get sick. But what are you looking for in the person outside of the finances?
So we really look at outside of, honestly, how about this? If these loans didn't end up in a security at some point, because they do, these get securitized, believe it or not. So even though they're short term, they'll go into what's called a revolver. So once those companies that securitize loans get involved, a lot of things happen that are just, bullshit ancillary stuff that have nothing to do with the deal.
Yeah.
So the two most important things in my world are, what is your track record? How many projects have you done? Right?
Yeah.
And you have to prove them to me. And obviously, if you've done more, that I feel more comfortable with you. Right?
Yeah. And it's easy to prove. They should all be on the MLS. You should be able to send them right over.
Correct. Right. And then the second thing is, basically the property. Like, what is my security? Right? What does that look like?
Yeah.
What is the deal? Obviously, they're going to make us look at credit score because, again, these get securitized, and the credit agencies, they think that really makes a big deal. It doesn't. I can tell you, not in my business. You can have a 400 FICO score. If you've done 400 projects, guess what? I'm looking to lend you money, right?
Yeah, I agree.
FICO score, and the deal is great, and I want to lend you the money, right? Because I'm an asset-based lender, so even though we try and explain this to our counterparts, they're going to put ancillary stuff in there, because they have to, and they're not street guys. They have no idea. They've never written a loan ever in their lives. So,
don't you learn a lot from how the borrower presents it? I was like, I've never been on the lending side, but obviously I've taken hard money. I've used my own money. I've lent money, but I know how to present myself. I know the property. I know how to present the property. I run the comps. I'm been licensed for 12 years. I know the repair budget, within a couple $1,000, I'm usually going to be right on the money. So I can look at how someone presents something and know oh, okay, I may not know the property, but I know they've done the due diligence. If you see a list and it's all cosmetic, I know they haven't done anything. Oh, you don't know how old the mechanicals are, how old the roof is. That's where all the money, and that's where people who are baby flippers can really lose their shit.
So presentation is the key. Right?
Yeah.
So we had a lawsuit, believe it or not, where someone came in and said that we discriminated against them because we didn't give them a loan on a certain property and that we had given a loan to someone else on that same property. Okay. So when we went to court, we basically said this has nothing to do with race. It has to do with the numbers and presentation and how much work that, they said that these guys had to do. And, the guys we gave a loan to made us feel comfortable, right? The numbers, like you said, were set.
Yeah.
The profitability was going to be a lot more. So we gave the loan. And, but these are the things that I deal with. The presentation is the whole thing. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people. So again, but within my business, a lot has to do with the loan officer as well, because we try to tell the loan officers, you have got to, even internally, well, why is Melissa doing more business than me? Well, she's packaging her deals up, making a pig look like a princess. Meanwhile, you guys are making a princess look like a pig.
Yeah.
And presentation, and when she's going in front of the board, or going in front of the underwriter, her presentation, her memos, everything like that are on point, and underwriters like that.
Yeah.
They're more prone, and so are the owners, right? It's a pleasure for me when my loan officer, I don't have to ask questions. Everything is in the credit memo. It's already there. The comps are there. This is there. Every counter that I could give to not do the deal, she's already answered.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's similar to like appraisals. If you have an appraiser who's looking for extra information from you and you deliver them a packet, like if they want all the renovations, you give them all the renovations. Appraise it, you're winning every single time, because then they don't have to dig and do the work, and you presented it and it's all verifiable. Yeah, that's why I always like flipping and then having the appraiser come and say, hey, where's your list? I just give them the list of everything that's done. They don't need the cost. They just want to look at it all and be like, oh, okay, that's new, that's new, that's new. So they don't have to do any guesses there.
And then I'm going to venture to guess, right? When you're looking at your numbers, you're never going with the highest comp.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Right.
Because I'm a realist. Right.
Because you're a realist. And you've been around the block, and you're going to say, what is my worst case scenario? Right?
Exactly.
And so I think a lot of the deals that get lost are, and I try to tell investors this, you cannot ever do your numbers on the best case scenario.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
This is how you're going to lose. And, I said, well, I'm not getting involved. I am looking at the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it, because you're using my money, right?
Right.
Well, why, Steve, why aren't you taking the comps on this one? I'm not going. If I have comps at half a mile that show that your property sucks, I'm not going a mile and a half.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
That's important, though. I'm like very, very tight on the geography as well, but I really like what you said, because I think that's something that somebody should know. They should know what they're doing, how to present it, how to understand the comps and everything like that. Again, these are just people making bad decisions, but you're giving them the money, so they better know.
And and people could get mad at me, and they do. Well, these are the comps. Why aren't you? No. And I like to tell them, I like to talk you guys out of making these bad decisions, right? Because I've been there. And what a lot of real estate investors don't do is they get emotionally involved in real estate investments. And I tell them, this is not your personal house. You're not buying this to live. If the numbers don't work out, you've got to walk away. The best deals you're going to make, and I know you've got 100 best deals, and none of them are ones that you made, or the ones that you didn't make. They're the ones you walked away from saying, something's up with this.
Yeah,
I'm not doing this deal. And those are the best deals you're going to make, are the ones you don't do, not the ones you do.
Hey, it's Jonathan. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Steve Afra as we go New York style talking about money and deals. But if you're interested and you want fast and reliable private money and you think Steve is the guy, go to nvestorfunding.com. That's the letter N, Vestor, VESTOR, funding.com. You can find Steve there. You can find out all the things they do: fix and flip, long-term rental, short-term bridge, ground-up construction. Get a quote. Let's get back to Steve. Emotions are an absolute killer. Especially, I mean, I can see this though from your point of view. When an investor comes in and they're really tied, I really got to get this property. I'm already thinking in my head, like, this isn't a good fit, because they are, like you said, the worst thing that they can do is go with the best case scenario. Because when you look at it, it's like 19 things all have to go right that are all tied to each other just for you to get your projections. Where if you were just like softballed it like we both do, and I'm like, I always look at it as like, if I basically fuck everything up, I'm still going to make this. Like, I know enough where even if I get a red card, things go wrong, like I'm still good for this. And if that's okay, I'm probably going to crush it then. And that's why I usually do. But again, that's also why there's no deals for me now, because I'm up against like investors who don't know what they're doing, who are able to get money. And like, I'll come in out here in New Jersey, like I'll bid on a flip and I'll come in like 7th, at a 14. And I'm like, I know my numbers are right. So I'm like, what are these other 6 people ahead of me doing? It's crazy.
Wasting time. You know what they're doing? Making nothing.
No, they're not going to make any money. There's no chance.
What? Why do it? Why?
Yeah.
I tell people, why am I going to put up money to make 10% on my money? I have to be fucking crazy to do that.
Well,
put your fucking market in the market. Put it in the S&P. You're going to make more.
Index
you're
funds.
going to
Why don't
do
they
all
just
this
do it?
crazy shit. Take all that fucking risk to make 10% on your money. You have lost your mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I used to like to be more active, and now I'm so much more like choosy about what I do. Maybe it's age, smarts, or whatever, but like I love index funds. I like investing in syndications now because I'm older. I look at flips, but like I was saying, I know what the right number is. So when I know I'm in the middle, like, it's a tough landscape out there. I wonder. I agree with you. I look at a lot of people and I say, why would you be a new flipper right now? Like, you won't know if it's a good deal.
No. First of all, you know how it is. The inventory sucks because no one's leaving.
So bad. Yeah.
It's so bad. They're sitting there in 2.5, 2.8, 2.75 rates. That market right now is fucking dead.
Yeah.
It's just dead, unless you want to go to Gary, Indiana and get shot. You're not getting deals in New Jersey. Will it happen? Yeah. When rates eventually come down, it's going to spark that activity. Home prices are going to, go up. Right now, they're stagnant at best, right? And that's when you come out to play. But these guys are just playing to play. And I tell them, but that is exactly why I'm doing more new construction loans than I am fix and flips. I don't even want to let fucking Kiabi have it. I don't even want to deal with that shit.
I mean, the people want to work with them anyway because it's easier.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to get screwed, because of themselves. But
100%. If Kiabi wants to give you money for you to break even, that's on fucking Kiabi.
Yeah,
that's not on me. Yeah. I'm not doing that because I'm looking at the worst case scenario, and I'm not going to break even because if I have to take that back, I'm actually losing money. I'm never going to break even on that shit.
Yeah, and so the core of fix and flip lending is repeat customers. So if they're not doing well, they're not coming back, and then they're blaming 100%. You. It's a disaster.
100%. And so I think that's the biggest problem we have, and when we reject loans is everybody, or I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of people right now, because of what's happening with deal flow, are always going to look at the best case scenario. And I tell them, listen, even if don't look at the best case scenario. At least get the highest comp, the medium comp, the middle comp, and the lowest comp. Add them all up, divide them by 3, and that should be the number.
Yeah.
Right? Don't go get that medium and don't go past that. Don't you dare just go past that.
It's a really so many bad steps that lead to these potential defaults, but they're all preventable.
Yeah.
Just from all the things that you're saying, it's like, don't do the best case scenario. Don't go out over your skis. Don't try a project that you don't know what you're doing. No contractors. Like there's so many things. I mean, that's why wholesaling is such a murky business. People are like, oh no, it's a great business to make money. I'm like, almost all wholesalers fail because they don't know repair costs. I mean, it's so obvious. And so then they can't sell it. And then that's why they have 6 daisy chains in every wholesale in New Jersey. You're see it on the same people's list. And one thing I wanted to bring up, which I'm sure you'll know a lot about, is I don't think that your regular new investor understands how many different ways a good property has already been sold off market to people they know. Like once you see it on a public site and it's like an investor property, it's like 10 servings. It sucks. Yeah. Everyone who's a good investor has passed on it.
I tell people, these guys that are going out and they're doing that daisy chain, I tell them, you guys are just fucking lazy.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll get 1,000 out of the 5,000. That's not a good business model.
No. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is they don't know how to source the business.
Yeah.
They want to be a fix and flipper, but they're depending on a wholesaler that's halfway special, right?
Yeah.
It's they know nothing about nothing, like you said. Why aren't you going out there speaking to the probate attorneys yourself? Why aren't you going out there speaking to realtors yourself and telling them, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm ready to buy this and that. Why aren't you doing the legwork? Why aren't you going and checking out, properties that do drive-bys? The grass hasn't been kept.
Exactly.
The roof is fucking falling
Old
apart.
School. That's what I did with my dad every weekend.
Yeah,
we you know what we did? We went to yard sales, and everyone's like, why'd you go to yard sales? I'm like, my dad made a cash offer at every yard sale we ever went to. And they always said no. And then eventually they would be like, actually, that's a pretty good deal. And he bought a bunch of that. And like you said, it's not like your dad found all these homes on Zillow. There was no Zillow because we didn't have the internet when we were looking.
No.
You had to
farming. It was called farming. You remember?
Geographic farming. Exactly.
Yeah, and they were motherfucking you, right?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Why? Because there was 15 other guys like us knocking on their door.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you where I was getting most of my business, and this was my saving grace. I was going to the local accountants.
Nice.
Okay. And back then they didn't have H&R Block, and there was any of this. They had the local guy. And he knew all the secrets. He knew when the guys were having financial trouble, what was going on, because he was the guy that they were all going to for all financial advice. And I used to just know every single accountant in Brooklyn and the amount of business I got from these guys. And obviously I would cut them in on whatever it was, cut them a nice $5,000, $6,000 check every time I got a property, right? So they loved me and the amount of business. But again, I was thinking out of the box.
My dad did the same. So we had advanced looks at all the foreclosures because before they went to final hearing courthouse steps, my dad knew everybody at the office. He was a lawyer in the town. We would just get the list and we would go. And that's why I climbed through the windows because they were vacant at the time.
Yeah.
And if they weren't, we wouldn't go in or we'd knock and pretend we were an insurance company. That's why he would bring me. I'm a kid. No one's going to do the screw you at the door with a kid there. No. A couple people did. I thought it was funny, but that's old school New York investing. And what I tell people now is what we used to do, what we're talking about now. I think you're better served still doing it. Stop trying to get a technology account and send out a bunch of postcards that are impersonal. Just meet some people in your neighborhood where you want to buy. Stop trying to invest in Memphis when you live, in a town where there's plenty of properties. It doesn't make sense.
And then they're going into Memphis, not even knowing that, God forbid, you got to take that house back. You're not driving to Memphis.
Right.
You're not going there. Your investment is dead. The amount of people I get asking me, should I invest here? And I tell them, no, don't invest anywhere where you have a 100% chance of losing your money. Just don't do it. Don't get greedy. Why?
Right.
Why go through that?
If you can't get 100K to work in your market, 100K in America right now, it's not going to get you that far. No. So if it's a screamer of a deal, well, I mean, how much do you know about the area? Who do you know there?
Why is it coming to you?
Exactly. You don't know anything. Why they don't understand they're the target. Yeah. They're the perfect target. When we're out here in New Jersey, we're looking for not the good New York investors know what they're doing. The bad New York investors who are kind of new, we're like, oh, here comes dumb money again. No offense to New Yorkers. I'm a New Yorker. You're a New Yorker.
Right.
But no, there's a lot of dumb money out there. And you look at it, and I know because or else I wouldn't come in 6 ways down on the ladder on offers. There's just no way.
I'm with you. I scratch my head so many times just wondering, but they're out there, and I tell them, so I have a real estate community on school,
Oh,
And
awesome.
those are all the questions like from my from the community usually are, well, I live in San Diego and I got this opportunity in Gary, Indiana. Come
Yeah.
on, are you for real? Like, what do what are you really gonna what do you know, and why is there such a good opportunity in Gary, Indiana,
Yeah.
where, believe me, right? In every market, there are sharks.
Of
Why
course.
is a great opportunity that any shark in Gary or Detroit will salivate on and buy within 30 seconds coming to your table?
Right.
Why are you so
You're a
special?
nobody in San Diego with
No.
a lot of money. Like, this is starting to make sense. It's the same though. Gary, Indiana. I mean, when people used to say like, "Oh, should I invest in Flint?" I'm like, "Do you know about the water situation?" Like, they just don't, like, maybe there are good deals there, but it's not like I don't want to invest there. And I, like you said, I like real estate because I can go to it. That's how I grew
Yeah.
up with my dad. I can go see it. I can touch it. So if I invest out of state, it's in syndications where I know somebody else is monitoring them and I don't have to do anything. I really have no interest in having a one-off in Minnesota. Like, well, what's the point?
Are you planning on going to Minnesota anytime?
Right.
No.
And like, those are probably only going to cash flow like $150 a month for people. So it's like, you could find something that's going to do that locally, or just put it in index funds and stop spinning the wheel.
I agree. Or even, look, you can go upstate New York.
Yeah, that's where I go every weekend. Yeah.
Bro, go to Buffalo. Go to Albany. There's opportunities everywhere.
Rochester's
Go to Rochester.
on fire. So is Buffalo. You're right. Yeah.
So is
great
Buffalo.
areas. Yeah.
Like those are areas.
Yeah.
And you want to go in Jersey? There's so many areas in Jersey that you could go. You live in Philadelphia. You buy in Philadelphia. You're in Pennsylvania. There's so many great opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
You're in Connecticut. Go to freaking Waterbury.
Right.
There's so many places you can go. Go to New Haven.
But you know what? You know what the problem is? That takes work. And all of the things that we're talking about, old school ways that we do business still, it's just more work. It's much better work, and you'll have a much higher percentage of success, but people don't want to do work anymore.
No.
And so they default to technology, which is impersonal and is like the antithesis of building relationships, where if you just spent the same amount of time just building relationships with people, way more deals are going to come to you because people already like you, they know you, they trust you, and then you're getting that deal that's never going out to the market like all the ones we're talking about.
It's never ever going out to the market, and you're the first person that they're going to. You just have to be nice and personable, right?
Yeah.
And I know you guys did this, and when we used to buy a house on a block, believe me, we knew every mother on that block. Yep. Everybody, we knew everyone. Why? We were. Hey, how are you? I'm Steve. I'm here with my dad. How are you doing? If you're ever looking to, sell the property, and we were just having conversations, and then you're going to get somebody eventually. Someone's going to want to sell, and you're going to be the first conversation.
Yeah. And I wonder if you had this experience several times with my dad. And then when I was doing off market on my own, I got plenty of FUs. Who told you I was looking to sell? I'm like, nobody. They always call back. Because when they're mad, 100%. It's because you're right. And they're just not ready. So that's why my dad did the thing at the yard sales. And then he would just follow up. He'd swing by. They'd have any of the yard sale. We'd come back, and he's smart. He used the kid as a buffer all the time.
And the thing is, they're afraid of rejection.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And we just didn't give a shit. We just didn't.
I think it's funny. No, I agree.
Funny too.
Yeah.
It was always a numbers game. And you could never take it personally. They just don't want to, So I'll tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
Of perseverance that one business. Okay. So we still have properties in Brooklyn, unfortunately, and Queens. Okay. I wish we didn't, but we do. And I'll get called still every day today because that's New York. There is the perseverance. Every day I get calls. So this one day I'm just having a bad morning. Bad. Okay. I get a call, 347 number. I already know it's New York. And I click. Like, no. 10 seconds later, I get a call. Now I'm curious. I'm like, maybe I should pick this up.
Right, is that
I have family. I don't live in New York, right? I'm living in Nashville. So I'm thinking maybe there's something wrong. But I click, right? And no. 10 seconds later, after that, now I'm worried. I'm like, maybe something happened to my brother.
Yeah.
Maybe something happened to my sister. Now my alarm is up. I'm thinking this is serious. I pick up, and the guy's like, hey, I wanted to talk to you about 55 Herkimer Street in Brooklyn. And I unload on this guy. Like, I black out. I'm MFing him.
Yeah.
You MF. I'm just going crazy. I turn completely Brooklyn, New York on him, right?
Yeah.
I just tear it. To a point, my wife is looking at me like, holy shit.
Who's that?
I haven't seen you tear someone's ass like this in years, right?
Yeah.
Boom. I hung up on him, right? 10 seconds later, guy calls back. Now I lose my shit on him again, right?
Yeah.
Another 5 minutes. I'm feeling a little bit bad. Believe it or not, the guy calls back. And as soon as I'm ready to unload on him, he says, stop. He says, all I want to say is, I'm so sorry you're having a bad day. And I'm sorry. And he starts apologizing to me, right?
Okay. It's good on the phone.
He's like, I'm never going to call you back again. I didn't mean to ruin your day. And I'm really just, please accept my apology. I didn't know. I was just trying to be aggressive. Maybe I was, and he's just going into this whole thing, right?
It's good. Solid.
Now I feel horrible.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm the one that always says persistence breaks resistance, right?
Yeah.
Now I feel like complete shit. And I go to him, I go, wow, okay, I accept your apology. And I'm sorry that I went crazy on you. And I hang off the phone. Then I realized that my cousin is looking to sell one of his properties in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
We had a conversation 3 days before. What do? I pick up the phone. I call this guy back now.
That's nice.
He picks up.
Yeah.
He's like, are you looking to go off on me again? I go, no. Look, I'm going to give you a lead because I feel bad. And you know what? You were just being persistent. You were doing your job. And I had no right to go. I had no right to unload on you just because I was having such a bad day.
Yeah.
And I gave him my cousin's number. I called my cousin and he got the listing and he closed it.
That's awesome.
It made money. So.
Yeah. My catch turnaround phrase when I get the screw you is always, are you okay? And it always works.
Right.
They're just like, oh, that's different. Or one of the other things that I like to do now with technology, when someone says like, how did you get my number? I'm like, I'll send you the link where I got your number right now, just so you know I'm not like stalking you. And then I just send them the link to Spokeo. Like anyone can find you. This isn't hard. I'm not like, I don't have a PI tailing you. I'm just like on the computer, because you get the 80-year-old, they don't know what's going on. They think it's crazy. Once you explain it, they're like, huh. So I think that it's good though. I mean, that's a good tip for wholesalers. But one thing I wanted to say about, we've really talked about it. I've always said that the best wholesalers are never wholesalers. They're local home buyers who are just good at marketing and good at relationships. So then they just have overage. They can't take down 14 deals. So they just sell them to their friends. And then their friends are full. So they start wholesaling them, like that, because those are better deals also.
Those are the successful guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the guys that you really want to, those are the guys you really want to deal with, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But look, also, when the deal comes from a wholesaler to me, the first question I ask the guy, I say, why is this, how am I being blessed? Why haven't you bought this?
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm curious.
Yeah.
Why haven't you bought it? And like you said, why haven't your friends bought it?
Right.
What's up?
Why didn't you sell it to your dad? Your
tell me
uncle?
The truth. Tell me the truth, right? Just tell me the truth, because I'm not in your disposition list. Why are you even calling me when you have 150 other guys?
Right. Tell me about the squatter.
Right. Tell me about the squatter. Tell me what's up.
Yeah.
There's a problem with the, I don't know, structural damage or something. At least be honest with me, because maybe I can figure out a way and I might buy it, right? And some people will just say, look, man, I just got into the business.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for people, or, so on and so forth. But I just, when I'm talking to potential fix and flippers, I always tell them, dude, you're not special. You're not.
Yeah.
As much as you think you are, there's 10,000 other motherfuckers like you. there has to be a reason why people are getting in contact with you to dispo property to you.
Right.
And usually it's not a good reason.
No, it's because you're crawling through Facebook groups, sitting in like everyone in Detroit, Flint, anywhere saying, I really need to buy a property. I got 300 liquid ready to go. You're making yourself a mark, and a lot of people are doing it. And P.S. They don't even know contractors or anything. So why are you doing a flip out of state? It's just crazy. But look, somebody's going to lend on that. And somebody, it's going to be an interesting process.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
But you won't be doing that.
No.
Yeah.
And like you said, look, that's the other thing. When I see that somebody lives in San Diego and they're buying something in Missouri,
good call.
I'm like, how many properties have you done in Missouri? Well, I've done 27 in San Diego. Oh, that's San Diego. Why are you going to Missouri? It's a good deal. Thank you so much. Give Kiabi a call.
The way that so when I'm looking at multiple owners in an area, I start calling, everyone says like, how do you build a list? Like when I'm looking, I build a list of out-of-state owners, and then I see who lives the farthest away, who owns only one property. Where other people are thinking, I'm like, well, it's because they don't want it. That's like the easiest property to get. Whereas people, they don't even want to do the work to get it to that. I'm like, there's a way to build a list, and still at the end, you'll have the guy who owns 4 and he lives only one state away. But if you start with a New Jersey property that's owned by someone who lives in California, you're going to buy the property. Unless they have a relative living there. What do they want a one-off with paying 16% property management because it's a one-off? It's crazy.
I agree with you. You're right. That's smart. Or maybe they used to live in Jersey. They decided to keep it because someone told them, what? Never sell your real estate, right?
Yeah, but they don't even realize it's doubled in value.
No.
And they're getting $1,100 in rent.
Yeah. That's very smart. I didn't think about that. That's very good.
It's one of the sneaky. I mean, but I grew up with a dad who that's why I'm saying, I think like what we're talking about now is really just behaving like an old school real estate investor. To us, it's just like being a New Yorker. But I really think that technology, I like it, I use it. But if you want to be good at real estate investing now, you have to think differently, and you can't trust the technology to do everything correctly. It's like if you use technology, you're going to laugh at this because this is my funniest thing. Like people will tell me, I called a bunch of foreclosures today. I'm like, oh, well, tell me what you say. And they're like, I start off saying, hey, I know you're in foreclosure. I'm like, are you an idiot? You're going to call a foreclosure, and the first thing you're going to tell them is that they're in foreclosure. Why don't you just tell them they're a failure in life and you kick them in the nuts? Like, give me a break. Because they just read online somewhere that that's what you do. It's like, you're not being a human being.
YouTube told them. Right? YouTube. When the ChatGPT
ChatGPT, give me a script. First embarrass them. Tell them they're worthless. Tell them they're not good to their family. And then tell them you're going to buy it for cash, even though you don't have any cash and you don't have a lender.
Listen, I know you're a shitbag loser.
Exactly.
What's going on? I'd like to help you. People are just, it's common sense, first of all, has gone out the window, right?
It doesn't exist.
And no one has patience. So now we're sitting there wondering why they don't want to work hard. Everyone wants to get rich yesterday, right? Because it's like Amazon. They want, it's not even Amazon tomorrow. Now it's Amazon fucking now, right?
Yeah.
Where me and you had to wait a month or 2 months to get whatever we ordered, right?
Yeah.
Right? We had to wait till Saturdays to watch cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
Things were different. We didn't have auto rewind, and we had to wait till movies came out to go to the movies and watch them.
Oh, right? How about just calling a business and it's just busy for an hour?
Calling the pizzeria, right, on a holiday.
There's young people listening to this like, what's a busy signal? What are they even talking about?
What is a busy signal, right? And then they're picking up, we're busy. We can't take your call now. Click, and you're miserable because that was the 75th call you made to them. So now you have to get on your bicycle, go down to wherever pizzeria is, and stand on line. God forbid you have to stand on line.
Yeah.
These guys have no idea what standing on the line is.
Yeah, but persistence and all the things that we're talking about and patience are really so important. And I think like if you have a nurturing mentality, whatever you're doing, even if you're thinking of them as leads and not humans, like if you just want to nurture the relationship, you'll be much better long term because you're going to remember things that the other people don't. You're up against technology and VAs and people who don't even live in the area. If you're local, you have an advantage, even if you've never done a direct purchase from a seller. If you live on the next block, you have a direct advantage because you're geographically right there. You know the neighborhood, you know their neighbors.
So, we do quality control with our sales guys, okay? And I'll listen on to a conversation. And then I'll say, look, now you listen on to me, right? People don't listen, right? And I tell them, this guy's asking for a fucking ice cream and you're trying to sell him a pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Right? He's talking about X and you're talking rate. He didn't even ask you about the fucking rate. He's asking about leverage and you're already going in there saying, oh, I'll beat the rate. Listen, right? What is it that he wants? That's A. B, when I talk to them, I'll hear a kid. I'll say, oh, how old's your child?
Exactly.
Oh, he's 6.
Yeah. We're the same.
6? I have a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Isn't that
what
crazy?
Does he like? Does he like this? Yeah, exactly.
What's his name? His name is Cody. Oh, Cody? My sister has a kid named Cody. Or I'll hear a dog. What kind of dog do you have?
Right.
I'm going to get to know this person.
I'm the same.
Whatever is going on, that's what I'm listening to, right?
And next call, I'm saying, how's Cody? And they're like, holy shit.
Yeah, holy shit.
And I really do want to know. I want to know.
Yes,
yeah.
Me too. It's called empathy, right? And that is something that no computer program is ever going to teach you.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Empathize with whoever you're trying to deal with, right? So if I'm even calling for a foreclosure or whatever it is, I already know this guy is in trouble, right? The last thing I want to do is make him feel shittier than he already does.
Yeah.
Or what I want to do is tell him, hey man, everything is fine.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be
fine. If you need something, I might have something that works. I might not.
Have a solution.
Yeah.
I might not. This is just it. I'm talking about everything else because I know this guy or this girl or this anything is in a state of panic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to show that I'm not there to take advantage of their situation, and B, I can help them in any way they can, and maybe it's not going to be that one call, and that's fine. Right?
The people that we're talking about who make these mistakes are the same ones who call probate leads and don't offer their condolences. It's like, do you know what a probate lead is? Somebody died. It's crazy.
I have no idea.
One thing that you said when you were listening to the calls of your lenders, I think that's important, that goes to just scripts in general. A script is there so you can learn it and then adjust on the fly to what people are saying. And so I was a trial attorney and I was a prosecutor. And I remember I would go watch my friend's trial and I watch them do something like this. They would already know from a deposition, they were expecting the answer yes. And then they would get no, and they would still ask the next question as if it were yes. They're like, oh, so did you see the boy, who did the murder? And they'll say no, and they were supposed to say yes. And he goes, well, what color shirt was he wearing? And he's like, dummy, I just said I didn't see him. And then now the jury's looking at him, and now you're done. That's what I was saying though before we got on, like about podcasting. For me, it's like if I'm not paying attention to what you're saying and just riffing off what it is, it's not any fun. I'm not listening, and we wouldn't get to all these cool stories that we just had if I was just looking at a list and say like, okay, well, what did you do after that flip? It's boring.
And it's the stories that make it fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's what people want to hear because these are life stories that they're going to get more advice from and learn more from life stories than anything else, right? To have that, to be able to tap into someone with 30 years or 35 years of experience and just pick their brain and say, hey, what was the worst deal, that you ever did, man? And then they sit there and tell you,
how long do you have?
What's going on? I always like to sit down with my father's partners and just pick their brain, or sit down with my father when, back in the day, and just learn, and again, I think with the advent of social media, the new generation thinks that everything has to come like that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they don't know that anything worth anything, you have to build towards.
Yeah, right. You don't go on a first date and ask someone to marry you. Then you're a psycho. So, I mean, like, you don't do that in real. And literally, wholesaling is built on the first call. Hey, I have a cash offer for you. You don't even have cash. It's crazy. I think we just exposed like all the problems. Yeah, this has been awesome, man. Is the best places for people to find you at one for you personally, thesteveafra.com. And then for your funding company, N, that's just the letter N, investorfunding.com.
That's it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. This has been one of my favorite conversations. New Yorkers just going at it.
Jonathan. This was great. I didn't know you were from Brooklyn. I would have booked this a lot earlier. It would have been, I love it. I love it.
71 to 82. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, 71 to 82. I lived in Brooklyn Heights. Then I left, went all around, traveled all over. And then 14 or 15 years ago, I moved back with my two kids to the same block I grew up on in Brooklyn Heights for 1 year, and then Dumbo for 1 year, and then came out to New Jersey. But it was like cathartic to be like, my kids still to this day say, you would not shut up. They always said, all I said was, can you believe that you're walking in the same footsteps that I walked in?
or it's like, I lived in Soho for like 15 years.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
My kids hate it when I go back. You want to know why? Because I'll be like, you see that?
Yeah, exactly.
Place. That wasn't that. That was the local bar.
Me too.
They're like, Dad, you just want to tell us every block. Like, I used to go there and have coffee. That was a cigar store.
Same.
I can't help myself.
Yeah,
right?
me neither. It's so much fun. Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. Let's definitely do some business together. But yeah, I really appreciate it. This has been one of my favorite episodes. And I like that we're having like a real fun conversation, because it's something like you were saying, it's different. It's something that people can get a lot of value from, because it's just honest, real life stuff. This is what we think.
Yeah, this is what we think.
Yeah. All right, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Yep, that was Steve Afra. He is the founder of Nvestor Funding. You can find them at nvestorfunding.com. I'm Jonathan Greene. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of who's coming up on episode 308 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. And it's Joel Kraut of Burr Loans. Now, Joel and his company own Burr.com. I bet you thought Brandon Turner did, but no. So if you go to Burr.com, that's 4 R's, you'll get the story. But before Burr Loans, there wasn't a private long-term financing option designed for securitization. There was only hard money or fix and flip loans. We're going to talk about Burr Loans next episode with Joel.